Hello Team FD and welcome back to Transfer Winners and Losers, where we look at the movers and shakers from across silly season. Joining me is a very serious man. It's DJ Alab.
Yep, some would say.
My big Algerian.
2 years old, that.
So,
2 years old. We're still going for
how's
it.
the AFCON?
It's actually all right. I watched Algeria play Kenya last night. The kickoffs are mental. 9 o'clock and 11 p.m. was the one after that.
Ooh, there's a cool breeze around that time.
Ridiculous, but we won 2-0. Good performance from Algeria. Yeah, not too bad. How's your week off you had? I've done some of the videos.
I'm refreshed. I'm raring to go, Zach. And let's get straight into it with S. Unpale's suggestion. It's Juventus after they have seemingly wrapped up the Ligt. Hot property, the young man.
Yes, he is. The saga is finally coming to an end as Juventus have seen off competition from PSG, Manchester United and Barcelona, with the Dutchman opting for a move to Italy. Now, according to Sky Italia, De Ligt has chosen Juve, but the club are still yet to agree personal terms with his agent, Mino Raiola, who is demanding a fee of at least £10.7 million, which is ridiculous, and a get-out clause which would vary at the end of every season, but would not drop below £134 million. So if you're getting this guy after his move to Juventus, it's going to cost a lot of money. Now, the transfer will reportedly cost the Serie A champions a fee in the region of £62 million and will see him become the second highest paid player in the side, behind only CR7. And the Portuguese superstar may have played his part in the signing, as he asked the defender to move to Turin whilst the pair faced off against each other in the Nations League final just 2 weeks ago.
Wasn't he?
CR7, Agent Ronaldo.
Didn't even give it that. He was just very overtly saying, come to Juve.
Literally. I mean, it's worked, so fair play to him. Now, with Juve being the oldest team in Serie A, joint with Inter Milan, their so often reliable centre-back pairing of Bonucci, who's 32, and Chiellini, who's 34, are starting to show their age, as the defence conceded 30 goals last season, their worst record since 2010. Now, acquiring De Ligt should help tighten up the back line as well as build for the future. The Ajax captain had a terrific season, completing 90% of his passes, making 2.1 tackles and interceptions per 90, and of course, getting his team to the Champions League semi-final and winning the Eredivisie title.
Yeah.
But Juve aren't done there, are they, Chris?
No, just hoovering up all those freebies across Europe, aren't they? And they wouldn't be able to turn down a man of Adrien Rabiot's quality. Let's put his character to one side for a second. Juve obviously making a habit of this. It would be Aaron Ramsey and Rabiot in one window, wouldn't it? On a free. Past inclusions include Sami Khedira. Who else? Emre Can, of course. What a slick lid he's got. A lot of media outlets already saying the Frenchman has agreed personal terms with the club on a 5-year deal where it earns €7 million with a 10 million signing on bonus because, of course, free. So when you arrive as a free transfer, you inevitably strike while the iron is hot and use it to earn absolute P for signing on. He didn't clock up an awful lot of minutes last campaign, did he? I think we've discussed this before. Only made 14 league appearances for PSG in the season just passed after he was frozen out following that contract dispute. However, when he did play, his quality was pretty bloody clear to see. Very unique skill set. Could always be relied upon for progressing the player. I think his deep progressions were up there with the best midfielders in Europe. Didn't shy away from his defensive duties either, with 2.5 tackles per 90 and an absolute metronome with his passing, a 93% pass ac he racked up in those appearances. And this strong passing style, I imagine, will suit Sarri's philosophy that he's going to bring to Juventus. Of course, one of the reasons that Allegri was deemed not fit for purpose anymore was because the Juventus hierarchy thought that Juventus were staling somewhat in their style of play. They wanted to modernise, and Sarri is the man they've picked to bring that to the fore. I think they were 4th last season in the possession tables, still averaging 54%, but room for improvement there, let's say. And the signing of Rabiot will be a massive blow to a host of top teams around Europe, including Manchester United, who are in desperate need of a midfielder of his calibre. with some high-profile exits, but they're struggling to get rid of Sanchez still, aren't they? Pogba's future still up for debate. So, I mean, he still remains on Juve's radar. The club said they would love to bring him back. I think Paratici said he's loved to. He's always welcome through these doors. But whether, Juventus make any progress with Pogba is kind of neither here nor there for the time being, at least when we're looking at transfers they've already made. So, Ligt and Rabiot, imminent. What a bloody start to the campaign. Let's roll into our first losers. And if you're not a subscriber on Football Daily already, be sure to hit that subscriber button up there as displayed on screen right now, and that teeny weeny little bell so you never miss a magic Football Daily moment. Go and subscribe to Euro Football Daily as well. Let's move on. Enough plugs.
Quickly moving on to our first loser. He's back again. It's at S Undertale. Thank you very much for your contributions. You're in here twice, and you've suggested Bayer Leverkusen for the first loser. But why so, Hamill?
Oh, 2 suggestions. The Doppel shout-out. Have we ever seen the scenes like it on Winners and Losers? I mean, that's quite lazy from us. But yeah, cheers for your submission. Well, Leverkusen, first losers, I picked them. I did this section of the script. And basically because one of their primary targets might be slipping through their fingers, in the words of Busted, mate. 3 days ago, Madrid's biggest sport publication, Marca, reported that 20-year-old Norwegian international Martin Odegaard, who we've become fanboys of after his loan spell at Vitesse, was heading to Bayer Leverkusen. It made sense. They played the sort of football that you could see him prospering under. However, Marca, that same publication, now reporting that Basque outfit Real Sociedad are the new front runners. Now, Leverkusen will feel a bit aggrieved by this. They've already fended off heavy interest from Ajax. But La Real, as they're known, have also secured another Eredivisie smash hit in recent weeks. Alexander Isaac, who scored 14 goals in 18 games for Willem II. So they've got a bit of pedigree here. They're starting to make moves in the transfer market. Now, despite Leverkusen being able to offer Champions League football, Odegaard is reportedly keen, let's use that word, on staying in Spain because he would then remain on Real's radar a little bit more. Not out of sight, out of mind sort of thing, with the player pictured in San Sebastian on Friday. Now, likely he was just sizing up the club, still weighing up his options, so we could be jumping the gun here. However, his agent, Bjorn Torkvame, is a former Sociedad player, so that could give them the edge in that regard. Now, the Basque side are in dire need of attacking reinforcements if they're to maintain or improve on their performance last season, where I think they finished 9th. They had the 12th worst attack in the division, only scored 45 league goals. Obviously, Isaac's going to help if he can hit the ground running, but Odegaard, massive chance creation last season. So, Isaac will be hoping they secure a man of his skill set. But Leverkusen probably in more dire need of someone of his skill set.
Yes, perhaps they are in a more precarious situation when it comes to maintaining their league form, having lost German international Julian Brandt to Dortmund for just £22.5 million. Cheap as chips. Now, in the 18-19 season, Brandt contributed to 18 league goals, creating 2.6 chances for his teammates per 90, the second best in the Bundesliga. Whilst the arrival of Hoffenheim's creative powerhouse Karim Demirbay will offset some of that, XG suggests Leverkusen were kind of lucky last season, even with Brandt. Now, Die Work self scored 7 more than their level of chance creation warranted, which would have seen them slip to 5th, 5 points off Champions League football. So while Demirbay, Diaby and Sinkgraven are an okay start to the summer, missing out on a player like Odegaard's skill set could be a huge blow to maintaining their Champions League place next season. Now, on top of that, it looks like defensive target Theo Hernandez is on his way to AC Milan after meeting with Paolo Maldini in Ibiza, living it up large. Fair play. Now, despite the German...
Wayne Lineker,
Yeah, ridiculous. Who also liked one of Tempest's tweets randomly, which
that
is about a year old, an Instagram picture. It's mental. Yeah, now this is despite the Germans having agreed a €20 million fee for the player. A double whammy. As for Odegaard's long-term future, Mundo Deportivo have recently reported that Florentino Perez has drafted him back into the club's long-term plans following his 21 goal involvement in 33 Eredivisie starts. And I'm not surprised. They shouldn't be letting him go.
Only 20 years old. Of course, they've snapped up that Japanese wonder kid from FC Tokyo in recent weeks. who is 18 as well. When you think of the football that Odegaard's got under his belt already and the progress he's made in the very solid Eredivisie, I'd be thinking about bringing him back into the first team fold now. Another year on loan.
I read a really nice article where essentially it was looking over like his time at the Bernabeu, and it's very much like he came in under a lot of pressure, like
on high wages,
all of this, and now
his dad didn't want him training with Castilla.
Exactly, and then there's a whole little bit with Zidane and everything, though. So he's now been able to kind of take his time out, and you know what, fingers crossed to it, hopefully.
Healthy distancing himself from the club for those couple of years, but now, I mean, you're probably wanting to try and break into that, what will be at the end of the summer a new look side with some very fresh faces in, like Rodrigo, like Vinicius Jr. I mean, they've still got to part ways with a fair few names, Dani Ceballos, who if they hadn't signed him already, they'd be chasing him right now. Have you seen him at the under-21s?
Stupid.
That free kick. Zing. Right, let's make this section nice and quick then, and I think the use of the term winner is very fast and loose, and this comes from Lloyd Ravo. Arsenal have apparently wrapped up their primary left-back target, although I don't think a fee has been agreed, and Arsenal penny pinching, aren't they?
Well, it looks like the Arsenal recruitment team have been listening to the Sunday Vibes Extra Time podcast, where we fix Arsenal within about 2 hours. It's easy.
It's George's debut as well. It was actually very good. Shout out, George Wright.
Make sure you listen to it after this, whilst you're at the gym or on your way to work or school, etc. Now, it's because the Gooners have made an opening bid for Celtic's 22-year-old left-back, Kieran Tierney, to Hamill's sadness, demise, whatever you want to call. Anyway, according to the BBC, the Gooners have had a £15 million bid rejected, but are expected to return.
Derisory.
In fact, I think it's even been improved now to £19 million, and that's also been rejected, which is to be expected.
So it should.
Now, the BBC claim there is optimism that a deal can be struck and personal terms shouldn't be a stumbling block.
I actually think, sorry to interject, this is a bit of lazy journalism. Personal terms shouldn't be hard to agree. He will feel pretty torn at the prospect of leaving Celtic before 10 in a row is achieved. He could still be 24, would still have 2 years left on his deal. He could enter Celtic folklore as the captain and then still leave and play at the top level for 10 years.
Or he could leave now and do it.
English media out there going, Arsenal could probably offer him 80, 90k a week, and money is everything in the English game, so of course, you know, he wouldn't even think twice. Shut up! Anyway, move on.
Yeah, anyway, the Metro report that Arsenal are prepared to offer 4 players in exchange, either on loan or permanently. Carl Jenkinson, Jordan Usitutu, Emile Smith-Rowe, and Eddie Nketiah. Would you take any of them?
No.
Emile Smith-Rowe?
Yeah, he's a talented player, but we have an abundance of talent in that position. He would not be in the first team.
Very true.
We literally have 3 defenders. No. Carl Jenkinson doesn't qualify as a defender either. So if I hear him involved in any future deal, then there's not much I can do. I'll be bloody furious.
Now, it's clear why Arsenal are targeting a left-back. Monreal will be 34 in February. Kolasinac, or as Jackson says, Koscielniak, is best as a wing-back, and Barca are rumoured to be considering a £20 million bid for the Bosnian. So, after 167 games for his boyhood club, in which he's won 3 trebles, three domestic trebles, it seems like Tierney may have played his final game for Celtic.
Seems like being the key phrase.
But would it be a good signing for Arsenal?
Well, my old fruit, I actually put a tweet out at the weekend stating, and I stand by it pretty staunchly, that he would already be the second best left back in the Premier League, just behind Andy Robertson, whose all-round game probably is a little bit better, but he's got 3 years on him. I firmly believe that Tierney has a higher ceiling. I mean, when he's played in the Europa League and the Champions League, he's not looked out of his depth at all, taken to it like a duck to water. He's actually got 10 more European games under his belt than Dele Alli, and Dele Alli's 14 months older than him. That's the sort of pedigree we're talking about. So forget, the SPFL being a tin pot league. Yes, it's not very competitive. He's playing on a dominant side, but we know a bloody good defender when we see one, having parted ways with Van Dijk in the last 5 years.
True.
And he leaves Celtic, or he hypothetically leaves Celtic as a better player than when Van Dijk left for Southampton. That is for sure. So we don't have numbers from the Scottish League because statisticians apparently don't care. Actually, StatsBomb do some really interesting stuff on Scottish football because there's a lot of value in Scottish football. But these are from who scored from European games. So despite Celtic crashing out to Valencia 3-0 over the two legs, Tierney actually racked up some pretty respectable numbers in the competition. So 6 games, 1 goal, 4 tackles and interceptions, 0.5 shots per game, 1.2 dribbles, which is not bad at all, 1.7 key passes. This was the most impressive metric. Was only topped by Ryan Christie in the side, and it just shows you how important he was in terms of Celtic's chance creation against sides of equal standing, if not better. He's like roadrunner down that left-hand side. Doesn't necessarily have a trick in him, but much like Robertson, his ability to maintain full speed while he's travelling with the ball is frightening. In the Champions League, Celtic obviously finished 3rd in a group that contained Bayern Munich and PSG and got absolutely routed by the pair of them, conceding 18 in 6 games. But even here, Tierney managed to raise his performances. And actually, in times gone by, he's give tough opposition. I think maybe 2 or 3 years ago, Ian Robin down that right-hand side, or Kingsley Coman was it? He gave them a really tough time when Celtic narrowly lost to Bayern 2-1 at Parkhead in what was our most impressive European performance, I think, in the last 3 or 4 years. But his numbers in the Champions League: 4.7 tackles and interceptions, 1 dribble, 1.2 key passes. Now, it'd be a massive upgrade on what Arsenal already have, and I just think this gives us an insight into how much Arsenal are struggling for funds this campaign. In years gone by, they've been like 25 million is a fair price. Now they're looking to save 5-6 million. I'd imagine it's 19 plus add-ons, the latest deal.
I feel like they want to get this deal done and then Kolasinac should be done, basically. And obviously they don't want to sell Kolasinac before this has happened.
They're having to be very conservative, aren't they? Which is perhaps a little bit worrying for Arsenal fans. But what do you guys think? Do you agree that Kieran Tierney will be the 2nd best left-back in the Premier League? Let me know in the poll just above. Final losers.
We come to our final loser, and this one comes from @ScottYoung_4. Thank you so much for your suggestion. And you have said Spurs. Why is that, Chris?
There's no massively compelling reason. We are reaching a little bit here. Spurs still desperate for that marquee signing, aren't they? A few targets have already slipped through their fingers. They've not been able to agree a fee for Giovanni Lo Celso, who Real Betis want close to £60 million for. And it seems like Bruno Fernandes, who I feel is a bit of an outside target anyway for them, isn't going to opt for Tottenham should he leave Sporting Lisbon. So apparently, or Sporting CP should I say, I'll get told off by the Sporting fans for that. Apparently the Lisbon-based side wants £62 million for him, and you can see why. Following the season, he's had 32 goals and 18 assists in all competitions. He's also part of the national setup, isn't he? The same team that triumphed at the Nations League, although I think he only made 1 appearance. Portuguese newspaper Correio de Manha claiming that the players' representatives, the key figure being Miguel Pinho apparently, saying that he's going to opt for Manchester United over Tottenham should he go to the Premier League. Again, feels very loose. Not quite sure how reputable that newspaper is. And the Daily Telegraph is also reporting that Manchester United are interested in Christian Eriksen as well as Bruno Fernandes. It would appear that one of those outlets has it completely wrong. I haven't heard that much about either one of these transfer rumours. But I can imagine, Spurs fans listening to this and sighing at the fact that they once again cannot compete for players at the top of the food chain, although I would say he's probably straddling that band between elite and sort of top tier. James Rodriguez, if he's available for the same sort of price and his move to Napoli hasn't been finalised yet, why don't they go balls to the walls for him? But let's move on to your section.
Yes, well, the centre of midfield is an area Spurs are desperately trying to improve. And if you take away Eriksen's 8 goals, Ali, Winks, Dyer and Wanyama have a combined tally of just 10, with Ali having half of those. Now, the big issue here is whether Eriksen does leave. Whether he goes to United, I'm not so sure. I don't feel like he would be too willing to do that, especially when he's after a new challenge. Why would you move to a team that doesn't have Champions League football? Real Madrid seems like more the more the ideal location. However, they've made a lot of signings recently. Whether they have the money to be able to buy him is another question. So who knows? He may end up having to stay for one more year.
It's looking the most likely scenario at the moment. I don't think Levy would sell to Manchester United.
And to be honest, Spurs fans, I think they would take that as a signing of being able to keep hold of Eriksen for another year, that is. There are links as well to Ndombele from Lyon. That is another fantastic acquisition if they can get him.
Everyone's
and he's even and he's even come out into the press as well and said he wouldn't mind a move to the people that made the Champions League final to Spurs. Hammer, what do you think about that in terms of maybe like Ndombele coming in? He's been touted for so many different clubs all season, so many top European clubs that Spurs can get him. Fantastic.
Massive coup for Spurs, wouldn't it, if they could land someone of his standing? Because of course he's interested Real Madrid. So he should. Manchester City as a Fernandinho replacement, although he's a lot more attack-minded than Fernandinho.
Yeah, his ball progression is mental.
Yeah, his defensive numbers aren't massive. I think it's around 2.5 tackles and interceptions, but it is that drive from midfield, his dribbling ability, and his match intelligence, his array of passing in and around the box is absolutely fabulous. I think you've identified correctly the fact that Bruno Fernandes will probably be the wrong signing for Spurs. I touted him for a club like Everton. I'm not sure whether he's ready at this point to make a massive, or the sort of impact that Spurs would require, basically to maintain their Champions League status. There's a lot of pressure on the signings they bring in, but if it is Ndombele and Lo Celso, and even if they ended up parting ways with Christian Eriksen, that'd be a very successful summer in my opinion. Bruno Fernandes averaging 3.6 shots per 90 this campaign, and 3.2 key passes. This is the Liga NOS, but those numbers also intimate, like you said, that he's been playing far more advanced, and they need someone generating play from deep.
Harry Kane, like, okay, maybe a backup to Harry Kane is another person they can look to get in. But again, Son can play there.
Central midfielder, don't
Indeed, and I think...
Indeedy.
No,
because he'd be fantastic.
I mean, it wouldn't be too bad. But I think the other questions that get raised about if Ndombele does join is like the formation they play, like who has to drop out there, because maybe, as you say, he doesn't necessarily have the defensive numbers. Does that mean Eric Dyer has to play, and do they play like two CDMs?
They've played a 4-2-3-1 before, haven't they? And he could line up next to, I don't know, someone like Harry Winks as a Moussa Sissoko replacement, but then you are relying on Harry Winks to improve moving forward in terms of his deep progressions, in terms of his key passes and his long balls. He's a very cultured little player, isn't he? But Ndombele would relieve some of that pressure on him because he's far more gifted in the final third. I think he got 7 assists this campaign, the Moussa Sissoko. Although Moussa Sissoko, don't knock him, fine squad player, all right?
Yeah, I think also, imagine if they get Lo Celso as well, if they do play that 4-2-3-1, then what happens, it would be
a double pivot.
Son, Ali, Eriksen, Lo Celso, Mora. Two of them have to drop out each game.
Yeah.
I doubt they'd be happy about that. Harry Kane up front.
A double pivot of Lo Celso and Ndombele. I mean, you'd imagine you only bring the pair of them in if Eriksen goes.
Yeah,
your selection headache,
very true.
Maybe, it is alleviated by that. But what do you guys think? Who would be the most crucial signing for Spurs? Lo Celso or Ndombele? Or is it, keeping Christian Eriksen? Let us know in the comments below. That is the end of the show. If you've enjoyed this, please go and check out our X-Eyes on Football Daily. FDFC is rebranding.
We are. New name coming.
Fill us in.
Literally by the end of this week. So get ready for that.
Nice.
Make sure you go over there and check out the bucket list with Timothy Ware, Anthony Ralston and Henderson, all at Celtic's training ground. It was a sick day. We also recorded My Educating Jella with them. Make sure you check that out as well. And subscribe to the channel. We hit 25k. Yeah. Big numbers are happening over there.
I thought you were very good on that video. You made them feel at ease straight away, mate.
I try my best.
Very friendly with them,
I try my best. It's all about the touching. It's all about just doing this.
Well, that's a HR issue, isn't it? So stop that. Gammon hands.